What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Justice League the Snyder Cut Cyborg. And here we have the McFarlane Cyborg posing out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually take a look at Cyborg's accessories. Cyborg does come with two accessories. Technically, he does come with a left forearm with the hand, and that looks really nice. And then we do get his sonic blaster, which does attach to his left arm, and that also looks really good. He also comes with the McFarlane display stand. Other than that, Cyborg doesn't come with anything else. So let's actually have a closer look at Cyborg. And so here we have a closer look at the McFarlane Cyborg, and I have to be 100% honest with you guys. I absolutely love this face sculpt. I think out of all the Justice League figures that we've had a look at, and even the ones we haven't looked at, this Cyborg has probably the best face from any other figures. The likeness to the actor is very, very good. McFarlane did a really great job capturing the look of Ray Fisher, and it shows on this figure. If they had used the photoreal technology, that would make this figure so much better. But as it stands, despite the fact it is hand painted, this figure looks amazing. I really do like the look of this figure. I mean, just look at that. That looks like Ray Fisher right there. They did a fantastic job sculpting this figure, and I gotta give McFarlane props for that. They really don't do too well on realistic faces, but this one blows everything we've had a look at out of the water, and it is very, very nice. I absolutely love this head sculpt. The detailing on it is superb, and you can see all the panel lining, all the crevices right here. It looks really good. McFarlane spared no expenses to this figure, and I just love the way it catches the light. Like all the other Cyborg figures we've seen, this Cyborg figure has all these nice little areas that catch the light and reflect in a certain way, and it just makes it look like a living, breathing metal, and that's so fantastic. I mean, just look at the way the light catches on his arm. That's so amazing. I love every Cyborg figure that we've gotten from the Justice League movie and the Snyder movie, and it just shows you how much detail went into this figure, especially because I'm not the biggest Cyborg fan. It really does show how well executed this figure is. Now, out of all the Cyborg figures we've had a look at, which would be the Mattel and the Mafex version, this one does a perfect job of balancing the bulk and the thinness that he had in the movie. In the movie, he did have a much broader torso than we saw originally. And then you can see he had these really spindly limbs. And I really like the fact that he is very broad right here in the chest. And then his arms are nice and thin as they should be. It's a very, very nice balance between the two. I think the Mattel one was too bulky and the Mafex one was too slender. This one captures it perfectly. They did a really good job, and it really does show when you have time to look at the movie and sculpt it years after the movie came out. It looks so much better. Now, unfortunately, Cyborg only comes with one accessory, and his left arm is the only one that detaches. I would like to see it interchangeable between the two, where you could take his right arm off and have the cannon on this arm, and then it mix and match them. That would have been so cool. But unfortunately, we only got the removable left arm right here, and it does detach right there at the forearm. Now, one thing I'm not keen on is this red paint that McFarlane did. I understand what they were going with. I 100% do. But if you were going to do the red paint like this, it shouldn't be on the high points of this figure. It should all be on the low points. So they did a dry brushing on the figure when they should have done a red wash on the inside. And that's probably my one and only nitpick against this figure, is the blood trail running on his stomach, because it looks like a blood trail rather than lighting. If it was a brighter red and it was in the crevices rather than on the torso itself, I think that would look so much better. But unfortunately, this is the way it is, and there's really nothing we can do about it. If you're not looking at customizing the figure, you're going to have to deal with the blood trail on his stomach and chest. But overall, really love just how sleek and beautiful this figure looks. I mean, even the legs, you can see how well they catch the light, and it's just mesmerizing at times. Now, if there's one thing I can say is that the metal does seem a little bit too dull. I would like to see a more shiny metal color. That way this really reflects the light beautifully. Not that it's not doing a good job right now, but I would like to see that. And because they do use different plastics in the material, it does reflect right here on his crotch piece. Being a softer plastic, it doesn't catch the light as well as the harder plastics. So unfortunately, you gotta deal with that. But yeah, look at this detail. I'm always blown away by how nice Cyborg figures look, especially when they come from the Justice League. I mean, just look at that very thin ankle. It looks really good. I love how it came out. Even his toes look really nice. There's so much detail on this figure. It's really hard to say one thing that I absolutely love about it. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is this trail of blood that's supposed to be lighting, but it looks like blood on his chest. And one really high point on this figure is that head sculpt. That is a superb head sculpt, and I gotta give McFarlane credit for giving us such a very nice head sculpt. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get Cyborg compared to other figures you may have in your collection. And so here we have Cyborg posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Cyborg posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure in a Mezco 1/12 Collective, Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Cyborg posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger in a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. And finally, here we have the McFarlane Multiverse Cyborg posed next to the Mattel Multiverse Cyborg and the Mafex Justice League Cyborg. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at Cyborg's articulation now. Just like with all the other McFarlane figures, he does have a double ball joint here at the head, and he looks up superb. I love the range of motion in his head. That's so good. And then he also does look down better than what we've gotten from any other figure, so I do like that. He does have some really nice head tilt side to side, and then of course it does rotate left and right. Really good range of movement on the head. We do have a ball joint going into his torso, so this arm does pivot forward and back. Does pivot up and down, but you don't get too much movement because of how broad his chest is, and they didn't really cut into this sculpt, so it really just pivots a little bit. Arm does go all the way around, no problem. Goes out to the side to about right there, and one thing I do like is that his shoulder pad is connected to the bicep, and that does cover the shoulder really nicely, and you get this really nice innard of his shoulder. But yeah, that does cover up really nicely. It's a soft plastic, so you don't have to worry about it getting in the way. We do have a bicep swivel, which works pretty good. We unfortunately only have a single bend here at the elbow, and that only gives us 90 degrees, and that's for both arms. Unfortunately, he can't go any further than that, so that is a little bit of a shame. And then we don't have a ball hinge at the wrist. We just have a regular hinge, so that only moves in and out, and then of course it does rotate. So yeah, a little bit hindered just by the design of this figure. You would expect that to happen, so I'm not too distraught about it, but it is something that even Mafex was able to work around. So yeah, so moving on to his torso, just like with all the other Justice League figures, he really doesn't go too far back, and he doesn't go too far forward. And it is surprising because they didn't make this centerpiece soft plastic. I don't know why they made this soft plastic if it doesn't move. And just like with all the other figures, perfect spot to have a torso cut right here, keeping this part down here. I don't know why they didn't do that. And he really doesn't tilt to the side. You only really get left and right rotation out of there. Most of the articulation does come down here. You can see he doesn't arch back all too far, but he does crunch a little bit farther forward than we've gotten, so that's pretty decent. Legs do go out to the side, or kick forward really high. That's pretty respectable, to be quite honest, and then they go back about that far, so 90 degrees going both ways. Let's see, going out, and it's a little less than 90, but it still works. We do have a functioning thigh swivel, and you will use it for adjustment posing on Cyborg because he only has a single bend at the knee, but at least it is 90 degrees. It is a little bit unfortunate that it is just a simple hinge, but it does work for what it is. And then we go on to his foot, which is just another hinge which goes back and forward, as you can see. And then we do have forward-facing pin for rocker ankle, and unfortunately no rotation at the foot, so he is a little bit limited in terms of articulation. And then of course we do get a toe hinge, although not as good as we've seen on the other figures, unfortunately. So yeah, Cyborg here is a little bit hindered in the articulation department, but where he really makes up for it is in the details. This is such a really nice figure. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so finally, here we do have the Justice League Cyborg posed for my final thoughts. And overall, McFarlane has knocked it out of the park with this figure. I am not going to lie, this is probably the best Justice League figure we have seen to date. And we've had a look at Steppenwolf, Darkseid, The Flash, and Aquaman. And out of those figures, this is probably the best that we've had a look at. We still have 2 more figures to look at, but as of right now, this Cyborg is king. I really love the detailing on this figure. McFarlane absolutely nailed it with this figure. The design is perfect. They managed to capture the lankiness that he had in his limbs, but the bulkiness that he had in his torso, and that head sculpt. That is a very beautiful head sculpt that McFarlane has done here, and it captures the likeness of Ray Fisher so well, it's uncanny. Despite the fact I do have the Mafex version of Cyborg, I think this version looks a little bit better when it comes to the face. This actually captures the look of Ray Fisher better than that version, and it does come with the whole, this figure came out years after the movie, so they did have a better chance to look at the movie and take better images of it to make this figure. But overall, love this Cyborg figure. If you could only get one Justice League figure, I would really recommend you pick up Cyborg. Yes, he is a little bit more limited in the articulation department, but when he comes to the details, this figure reigns supreme so far. I love the detailing on Flash. It was lost in paint. The details on Aquaman were also lost in paint, but Cyborg here captures every detail beautifully, and the one and only issue I have with it is the streak of red on the chest, which is a very easy fix if you know what you're doing. If you're going to repaint this figure, just remember the low points need to be red and the high points need to stay silver. I'm just throwing that out there. If you are looking for a Cyborg, at the time I'm making this video, he is available at Walmart's, Targets, Walgreens, Amazon. So if you are looking for this figure, go to actively seek this figure out. You won't be disappointed with this figure. It is probably the best that we've seen from McFarlane when it comes to movie figures, and I'm really looking forward to the other 2 figures after this one. Cyborg here is amazing. So if you haven't already done so, add this figure to your collection, and he will only run you $19.99, which is a steal considering how much detail this figure has. I love it. This is a must-have for any DC collector out there, and I am saying that being not a huge fan of Cyborg, but I really love Cyborg in the movie, and this is a very good representation of that figure. So with that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other McFarlane DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll gladly have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.